you for joining us for Season 3, Episode 7 of Adventures in Fly Tying. I'm your host, Joe Cornwall.
Welcome to our almost monthly fly tying podcast. We have got a fantastic fly for you today. This one is just, you got to have this one in your fly box. You just can't go without it. This is one of my favorites for warm water bluegill, panfish, and it's an awesome prospecting fly for trout. I call this the twisted little fox. You're going to find out why. This is such a neat pattern. Look at this. The twisted little fox is just a buggy looking thing, real interesting. It's made with two materials. This is made with red fox body fur. You really want to go in maybe with a bunch of guys at your club or some of your fly tying friends, get a full red fox pelt. They run somewhere between $40, $60, maybe $70 at the outside, but you can easily split this 6 or even 8 or 10 guys and get enough material. The body fur is what we want to use, and it really does have some unique properties. You'll see other flies that we're going to do coming up in the future that'll really feature this material. Red fox body fur. The other material this uses is a furnace or a natural red, soft, rooster hackle, or you can use a hen hackle. I like to use a rooster neck feather from a Chinese neck feather that has a little webbing, simply because it's a little bit longer. What makes the twisted little fox so twisted is the hook that we're going to use. We're going to use this little hook, the Mustad 33903 kink-shank popper hook. You've probably never seen this done with a Clouser style fly before, but this is the way I've been tying them for a number of years, and it's fantastic. So this may actually be an exclusive for Fly Fish Ohio. I don't think I recall anybody showing this particular technique in the past. We're going to use a brown 70 denier thread. This is a dark brown thread. Go ahead and put your hook in the vise, lay a nice little base of thread down there, clip off the tag end. Now we're going to use, these are a micro size or a mini size, depending on the size hook. For a size 10, you can use a mini. For a size 12, you can use a micro. These are unpainted lead eyes. Go ahead and throw those in that first kink on that kink shank, hence the twisted little fox, and look at what you've got. That'll hold those eyes in perfectly. I love this because every time you tie the fly, you have the exact same proportions, and the lead eyes don't spin. They're really well secured. You can use this all the way up to about a size 4. When you get to a size 2, the proportions start getting a little bit different. Okay, we're going to use the shorter fur that comes from the side of the animal for the tail and for the body on this. We're even going to show you a different technique on the body. Clip out a little bit of that short fur. What I want to do here is grab the tips of the fur and take out all that under fur, because that's not what I want for the tail. Get rid of that. Nice clean little tail, about the length of the hook, maybe a little bit shorter. With a loose pinch wrap, and cinch that down, and then wrap back towards the bend of the hook. I've now locked in that tail. Beautiful, that's not going to go anywhere. Now, for the hackle, grab it by the tip, gently stroke those hackle barbules back to open that hackle up. Now, clip off the very end. That gives you your tie-in point, and tie that in with the shiny side facing towards you. That way the hackles will sweep back later on as we wrap this hackle. Now, this is where we get into an interesting technique. To tie the body on this fly, I'm going to use a dubbing loop. I don't think this is something we've shown you on Adventures in Fly Tying in the past. Using the exact same fur from about the same spot on the animal. Let me find out where I was. There we go. I'm going to cut just a small pinch. That's going to be well more than what I'm going to need for the body of this fly. Now, make a loop with your thread and wind back to lock that thread in place, then advance your tying thread to right behind the hook eye. With this particular technique, I like to use just a little bit of wax on the bottom of that. That helps me to stabilize the fur as I put it in place. Take the fur, slide it in between these two pieces. Now, tease that fur up and down to make a long ribbon of that fur. You want to tease it out so that it's nice and translucent. You don't want to have big, heavy clumps. till you have a ribbon of fur that's about 3.5, 4 inches long. Now you can use a dubbing twirler like this. I prefer to just use a simple hackle plier. Grab the thread thusly, and then just go ahead and spin that hackle plier. You don't have to spin it a lot. That'll begin to make a nice tight chenille of fur. And when you've spun that perhaps 25 or 30 times, you get a nice tight little rope going there. You can begin to wrap that up. And I'm going to gently sweep that fur back towards the back of it so that I'm laying down a thin body. When I get to the eyes, come in to the front, and then behind, and then into the front again. And that way that you've got the entire eyes covered, front and back, with the fur body. 1 or 2 wraps in front of the eyes. And then tie that off. Little clip, and we've made a dubbing loop body. Now, the hackle, I'm going to take that hackle, and I'm going to stroke all those hackle barbules so they're on one side of the stem. So I'm taking these from my right to my left as you're looking over my shoulder, from the fly tier's point of view. And just a couple of twists of hackle behind the lead eyes. When you get up in front of the lead eyes, maybe you want to take 2 or 3 up there. Not really heavily hackled, but enough that it kind of looks buggy. And that's the whole thing about the twisted little fox, is that it's a very buggy looking fly. It imitates just about everything. It is a great imitation of a damselfly, of a dragonfly, of a cranefly larva, of an immature crayfish, maybe of a small dart or minnow or something like that. It's just nondescript, something that looks alive. Form a neat thread head. Whoops. Throw a whip finish on there. Now, this is the most important part of this particular fly. I am not done yet. The next thing I want to do is take a dubbing brush. This particular dubbing brush is made by the same guys who make the Peak Vise. Fabulous piece. But you can actually make one yourself by using a little Velcro, maybe on a popsicle stick or on a pencil or on the back of your bodkin. And go ahead and stroke through that fur to kind of blend the fur and the hackle together. Don't worry if some of the fur comes out, that's alright. You want this thing to really end up being kind of sparse and buggy and nondescript. Now, the very, very last step that we're going to do, using the tip of a bodkin, I'm going to add a little bit of cement right there, just to keep everything together. And there you have it, the twisted little fox. You gotta love this pattern. When you fish this, that's going to invert. The lead eyes will make it fish almost like a clouser, so that's going to invert. It's going to come down to the bottom. It's going to have a good jigging motion. This is a great imitation of just about anything that lives in a stream. Spring, summer, fall, winter, panfish, trout, smallmouth. The twisted little fox is a fly you want to have in your fly box. Thanks for joining us on Adventures in Fly Tying. Tight lines.